Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Today, we'll be discussing common assessments, ICANN and ICA, with Armando Ali, the CEO of the TaRL network. ICANN is the International Common Assessment of Numeracy, and ICA is the International Common Assessment of Reading. So thank you so much, Armando, for joining us today. Please introduce yourselves to our listeners and viewers and tell them your role at the TaRL network.
Thank you, Paul. And hi, everyone. My name is Armando Ali. I'm currently coordinating and leading the team at TaRL Network Secretariat, based here in Nairobi, coordinating the work of the TaRL Network in all 15 countries in where we are represented. It's also my pleasure to be here with you, and I'm hoping to have a very interesting conversation about ICANN and ICARE.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Armando, for that introduction. I mentioned ICANN and ICARE at the beginning. For our audience who are not familiar with these terms, could you please explain to them what ICANN and ICARE are?
Yeah. So when in 2005, Pratan International, an organization that's based in India, they started a method of assessing foundational reading and foundational numeracy. They developed a method that was then known as citizen-led assessment, because it was essentially done by citizens, developed by citizens, and used to communicate with citizens about if their children were able to read and do basic maths. So that method then was spread to many other countries in the global south, essentially. And it always followed some principles, but had different denominations and names. So in East Africa, we had the Wezo assessment. In Senegal, the Jangandu assessment. In Mozambique, the EP6 Mozambique. All of them were citizen-led assessments, developed based on same principles, but they were somehow different from each other because they were essentially contextualized to the national contexts and the requirements of their own countries. So with time, it became important to have a common measurement that could still be adapted to local contexts, but allow the network to speak as one voice, allow comparability, and allow all the members of the network to be able to say, this is the situation of our country, but this is also the situation of the global south in general. So that's how the network decided to develop common assessments. And the first of those common assessments was ICANN, the International Common Assessment of Numeracy, which was designed by all the TaRL network members based on their previous experience, but this time now mapped to the global proficiency framework, exactly to allow this comparability across different countries and to allow the network to speak as one voice globally. The same was done with ICARE, but this time focusing on reading, assessment of reading, and again developed by the entire family and following the most advanced principles on assessment and making sure that the tools are robust and could be used to monitor SDG 4. So essentially, those are the assessments. They are still simple. They are still designed for global South contexts, but they are now also designed to be able to monitor SDGs and to be able to report globally on the stage of foundational literacy and numeracy globally.
Yeah, thank you so much for that background and overview. And I'm sure our listeners are getting an idea of what these tools are. And if we can look at specifically, what are some of the assessment elements that we measure in reading and in math for children?
Yeah. When we speak about citizen-led assessment, I think we are speaking essentially about a few things.
Yeah.
One, we are speaking about assessments that focus on understanding if our children have the foundations of reading and numeracy. So we only focus on the foundations. Two, when we look into numeracy, what these assessments are trying to understand is, are children able to understand or do they have the notion of space and geometry? Do they have understanding of numbers? Can they recognize numbers? Can they do basic operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division? And by basic operations, we mean operations of 1 or 2 digits, essentially. And finally, if they are able to solve very simple day-to-day problems using those operations. So essentially, they assess the competencies that the majority of our curriculums, they expect children to be able to do when they finish grade 2 or grade 3. So we are looking into the basics of numeracy and the basics of literacy. On the literacy side, they essentially assess 3 domains. One is listening and comprehension, to see if a child can listen to what the assessor is asking and she or he can respond to that question. And the second is to see if she can decode. Decoding is reading the letters. If she can decode the letters. And finally is reading comprehension. So it means to see if a child can read a passage and understand what is written in the passage. So those are the basic competencies that ICANN and ICARE assess.
Yeah, thank you for that overview. I think some people would be interested to understand, why is it important for us to measure these basic competencies that are mapped at grade 2? What is missing that is making this particular subject very important?
Very nice question. Maybe we should have started from there. You know, in the early 2000s, there was a global movement to push for universal access to education to all children. Because we all agree that education is the driving force that can transform the life of our children and eventually transform the life of our countries as well. So especially in the underdeveloped countries, access to education was a big problem. And there was this global push for universal access to education for children in low and middle income countries. That was very good, and that somehow drove a lot of attention in building more infrastructure for education, and it allowed also the training more and more teachers to be deployed to different schools. And it allowed the implementation in many countries of free access to school for many children. But the problem is we never paid attention to what children were getting from school. So we had more and more children going to school, but they were not getting the expected competencies from school. And that was even clear when later we could see that many children who were coming out of school maybe were not having the adequate competencies to join the labor market or to even develop their own business. So why we developed this methodology, first of all, was to understand if children are getting the foundations of reading and numeracy, because we strongly believe that those are the building blocks for them to learn other things in life or in school.
Yes.
And what citizen-led assessment demonstrated initially was that despite going to school for many, many years, many children in the global south were not able to read and do basic maths.
Yeah.
So if a child cannot read and do basic maths when he is already in grade 5 or 7, he will not learn other subjects adequately, and maybe he will not learn other things in life.
Yeah.
It's very important to focus in these foundational skills and to make sure that children acquire those foundational skills early to allow children to thrive in life.
Yeah.
That's why we really focus on the foundations. And we think that this problem should be spotted early enough to allow also the different stakeholders to develop the corrective measures to ensure that they learn early and they can then progress easily in their students' career or in their lives.
Yeah, thank you for that. So we are learning that it's very important to measure, because it's at the beginning of a child's academic journey, and this could really define how they progress. It could define whether they stay in school. They could be academically frustrated, and this basically allows them to be able to live their dream throughout the academic system. Thank you for that. Now, for our listeners to also understand the citizen involvement in the whole assessment process, especially for the common assessments as well, could you explain how citizens are involved?
What the TaRL network is promoting, this thing that we call citizen-led assessment, is somehow different from other existing assessments. We know that there are also other people, other institutions who are assessing learning outcomes. This methodology has a few distinctive features that make them unique. First of all, as I said before, they are developed by citizens. Of course, in partnership with the ministries of education and the relevant institutions in our countries. They are developed by citizens focusing on the competencies that matter the most. But differently from other assessments that are conducted in schools, our assessments are conducted in the households. And the main reason is that in our part of the world, not all children are in schools. 2 out of 10 children are not in schools or are not attending schools or have never been enrolled in schools. So if you do assessment only in the schools, there's 20% of children who are left out. So we go to the households, because it's only at the household where you can find children who attend the school and those who do not attend the school. We also do our assessments in the households because we want to start the conversation with the parents to allow them to understand if their children are getting something out of schools. And our experience has also shown that when you are conducting these assessment schools in the households, it may be the first time for many parents that they realize if their children are getting something from going to school. It's really eye-opening. The other characteristics of our assessment is that we conduct the assessments one-on-one and orally. And the reason is that we don't assume that all children can read. So if you look into the school-based assessments, what happens is that a teacher comes with papers that gives to children and asks the children to read and respond to the questions in the exam. But if many children cannot read, they cannot even understand the questions and they cannot even respond.
Yeah.
So conducting the assessment orally allows that at least the child understands what is required to do and has more chances of responding to that question.
Yeah.
The other characteristic, which is also very important, is that the purpose of engaging parents in the household is to start a conversation at the household, at the community level, about what needs to be done to improve learning. If more people in the community understand the problem, their interest in coming together to find solutions that work for their community can increase. So it's also a way of creating awareness and mobilizing citizens' agency to say, we need to solve this problem as soon as possible. And we need to solve this problem starting with solutions that we can find from our own community or village.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Already we are learning about how the citizens are involved, and they're involved pretty much throughout the entire process, and parents' involvement and being at the household one-on-one, where children feel very engaged as well in the whole assessment process, and also the volunteers come from the same communities as well. This is very incredible. Now, to look at the significance of the assessments ICAN and ICA being recognized in the international assessment platform, following the global proficiency frameworks and being acknowledged by the UNESCO Institute of Statistics. How important are these elements to the broader assessment infrastructure that TaRL Network does?
When we as a movement, when we brought this issue of children are going to school and they are not learning, this was not a very easy issue to be accepted by our governments and the international community. It was a very challenging fact. And the way we always presented that our children are going to school but they are not learning, it always poses questions to teachers, to government, to international community as well. Because literally we were saying that despite the investment that we have in more infrastructure, in more teachers, it was not resulting in something meaningful for many children. So it was somehow shocking for different stakeholders. It was shocking for parents, it was shocking for teachers, it was shocking for governments, and it was shocking for the international community as well. And of course, those facts always come with some sort of resistance, and we received these several questions, but who are these people who are telling us that our children are not learning? How qualified they are to tell us that our children are not learning? They are not even teachers. So we needed to somehow demonstrate the validity of our tools, the robustness of our methods, and the importance of the data that we were bringing to the table of the negotiations or dialogue with different institutions. So when we decided to come together and develop our common tools to speak not just locally, but also globally, we decided to make our assessment respond to the global requirements and the global let's say global requirements on the quality of the assessments. So we started mapping our assessments to the global proficiency frameworks. When SDGs came, and SDG 4 was clearly designed to measure what children are able to read and do basic maths at grade 2 or 3. It also came with some specific indicators for that measurement. So we made sure that our assessments would be able to measure those specific indicators. And we wanted them to be recognized as valid sources to report to SDGs. And it took a lot of time and investment and a lot of discussions with relevant institutions like the UNESCO's Institute of Statistics. And finally, this year, UIS accepted that our assessments, specifically ICANN and ICARE, they qualified to report to SDGs. For us, has a space where the voice of citizens, the voice of the parents can be heard. This means a lot. This means that we can now bring to the international community the most reliable evidence to say where are we in terms of achieving SDG 4, specifically 4.1.1. It means that we have created the conditions for the people's voice to be heard locally, nationally, and globally. It means that our efforts to bring the reality of those children who are excluded from the systems will finally find a place to be exposed and discussed. It means that we can now sit with other stakeholders at different levels and be able to present evidence that is internationally recognized and that can tell us what we need to do to improve foundational literacy and numeracy for our children. It finally means that those discussions about the future of education, the future of our children, can be done informed by evidence that we produced, that we as people produced, and we can inform also policymakers about where we want our children to be.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's an incredible opportunity for these voices to be heard in globally in forums that matter, where decisions are made. And it's also important perhaps to also highlight PaRL networks also focus on making sure that the data is quality using the data quality standards framework. Even before, ahead of being recognized as CIS internally in the processes that we have, we are, PaRL network has ensured the quality of data. Could you talk slightly about that?
As I said, data is always political. And for people to accept data, they need to believe that what we are saying represents truly what is the reality in the ground. And everyone outside the PaRL network has all the legitimacy to question if whatever we are producing is relevant or not, because we are not experts on this space, or at least we were not. So from us to be heard in forums in which we were not the experts, we needed to make sure that whatever we are reporting follows all the quality standards, both statistically and in terms of the content of the assessment. We developed from the beginning very robust data quality standards, following international requirements and criteria, and following also the experience of the implementation of our programs in the different countries where we are, from India to Mexico, from Senegal to Kenya or Uganda. So throughout the years, based on our experience, we were able to learn and to understand what will give our data more representativeness and more accuracy in terms of whatever what we are reporting. So making sure that our data responds to all the quality requirements was also a way not just to defend whatever we are saying outside, but it was also a way for us ourselves to be sure that whatever we are saying is something that is really informed by evidence.
Yes.
So we didn't do it only to justify our presence globally.
Yeah.
We did it first to make sure to ourselves that the data that we're reporting is accurate and is a fair representation of the situation of learning in our countries.
Yeah.
So it means a lot for us to ensure that we follow the quality standards for this kind of work, and we can stand over any criticism that may come from different sources.
Yeah, thank you so much for that profound response. Now, shifting towards understanding now, and you have already alluded to this about the impact that PaRL Network hopes ICANN and ICA can have in local, national, and even global scale. You've already alluded to the people's voices being effectively represented with this. What more are we hoping to see ICANN and ICA influence, both nationally and regionally and globally?
We are now halfway to 2030. 2030 is when the people from the world represented by their countries will come together and say what progress we made in terms of giving our children the chance of learning and thriving life. I mean, 2030 is when we are going to monitor what we have achieved with these sustainable development goals that we set to ourselves. We are just 5 years to 2030. And globally, there's no data on foundational learning, or there's no sufficient data, especially for the global south, on foundational literacy and numeracy. We are trying to contribute to that, offering more data. And as we speak, we are currently working in 12 countries to produce the most accurate data on foundational literacy and numeracy. We have done and we have finalized the pilots in 9 out of those 20 countries. By end of this month, we will be finalizing the pilots in all 12 countries, and hopefully from June to September, we will collect the most fresh and accurate data on foundational literacy and numeracy in 12 countries from the global south. We believe that this can be a good contribution to global discussions about SDG 411A. We expect that our data can be used to inform both our countries in terms of if we made progress or not, and what can still be done by 2030. And we can also inform globally the progresses that we made in different countries and the challenge that is still exists. We hope that ICANN and ICARE can be a reliable source of the most up-to-date information for whoever is looking for data on foundational learning in the global south. And we hope that by 2030, we will be able to do at least one more round of assessment, not only in the countries where we are represented. We expect to expand this to other countries, new countries, and we are willing to provide the necessary support, the necessary, I would say, any way of support that we can provide to whoever is interested in using our methods, in using our tools to go to the field and to see what is the situation of learning of their children in their respective countries.
Thank you for that profound impact, and also the welcomed support to people who are looking to use our tools, PAL network tools, to influence learning in their countries, whether it's governments or civil society organizations who want to contribute to the work we are doing in foundational learning. So what are the plans that are coming up for 2025? You've already talked about the pilot happening in 9 out of 15 out of 12 countries. What else is coming up that people can be on the lookout for in terms of ICANN and ICA implementation?
Yeah, the most important is this good news that finally, we are in a position to say we are already on the field and we are already producing data.
Yeah.
But this effort, it needs also support from different stakeholders. We are also asking our governments, our partners to join us in this movement, to give the necessary support, and to be with us in understanding what the data will tell, and eventually engage in meaningful conversations on what can be done to solve the current problem. The purpose of the assessment is not just to say our children are not learning. The purpose of this is to inform discussions, to find solutions to the problem. We would like to encourage our partners to join this conversation, to use this evidence mostly to find solutions on how we can scale the available methodologies, the available approaches, and make education, quality education, expanded to more children. We would like to invite our partners, our donors, our governments to use the evidence that is coming there to find solutions. And we know that there are already a few solutions out there that can be used, that can be applied to give more children a better chance to learn in short periods of time. And currently, I would say, with the level of knowledge that we have, with the level of development that we have no excuses to continue having children going to school for 7 years and being unable to read. That's really unacceptable. We have no excuses that foundational reading and numeracy should be denied for those children who are in the margins of the system. The right for quality education is for all children. It's for children who are in cities, it's for children who are in rural areas, it's for children who are in emergency, it's for children with special needs. We have currently in this world all the information, all the necessary knowledge to expand access to all children. And we really mean to all children. Including children with disabilities, children in emergency, and children who are living, let's say, in poor conditions compared to others. That's the main message that we have. Let's use this opportunity and the evidence that's coming there to work on solutions that will bring learning to more and more children.
Thank you for that incredible take. There's nothing I can really add to that. I think you have summed up a lot about why PAL Network does what it does. I don't know if you have any other last words, last messages that you'd like to share, especially around, you've already mentioned why government should use this evidence and continue finding solutions. Sometimes maybe they feel like there are other priorities where they can put their money, maybe in health, and sometimes neglect education. Maybe you can mention why it's important to continue investing in education, especially foundational learning, to all these children, not just for governments, but even partners and donors.
Maybe one message from a parent's perspective and from a citizen perspective, but maybe it applies also for anyone who is in government, who who is a donor, because they are also parents, they are also citizens, they are on their own.
Yeah.
This is not about other people's children.
Yeah.
This is about our own children. This is about my children. It's about your children.
Yeah.
I hope that you will have children.
Yes.
It's about anyone.
Yes.
And it's not enough to have our own children literate or educated, because they will not be interacting only among themselves.
Yeah.
Let's just take an example. If you are well educated, the chances of having good life increase.
Yeah.
And you may be driving to Mombasa, and if you have an accident in the middle of the road,
Yeah.
maybe you will not have a chance to go back to Nairobi. You will have to be supported in the nearest healthcare unit that's close to where the accident is happening.
Yeah.
It's very important to have, even in that healthcare unit, the most qualified person.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have there, you may not have time. Even if you have resources, you may not have time to go back to get the healthcare in the rich units that you have in the capitals.
Yeah.
Bringing quality education to all is also increasing the chance of good quality of living for everyone, for those who have resources and for those who do not have. Again, this is about our own children, and we should take this as our individual missions. Every individual should prioritize this, because this will affect us individually in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Armando. That brings us to the end of this incredible conversation. Thank you for making time and joining us today. I'm sure everyone in the audience has gotten to understand what ICANN and ICA are. You've gotten to understand what citizen-led assessments are. You've gotten to understand why we measure what we measure, and the impact that these assessments have. Not only to the individual children in the households and families and communities, but also globally in representing people's voices in the global South. So thank you so much, everybody, and everybody who's working in the education to continue in the support of children's foundational learning and support the contribution to TaRL Network's vision of a world where all children have a foundation for lifelong learning. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. Until next time, adios, goodbye, au revoir, kwaheri.